Morning. So, hello there, incredible ladies. I would like to officially welcome everybody to this workshop. I'm Julia, the creator of Thrivers, and this is really exciting because this is where we take time to invest in our wealth, which is so important, especially tonight where we're going to be looking at all those really exciting goals and how they can come to life. So today we are really privileged to have with us two experts, one in wellness and one in wealth. And starting with wellness here in the Thrivers headquarters, it's so glamorous.
I feel like I'm on it.
We have Emily here, who's going to be empowering us with our wellness first. And then we are going to go over to the UK virtually, and we have Alice, our financial advisor. So, hi Alice.
Hi, morning, or good evening.
As you can see, we're dressed very differently because we're in Australia and Alice is in the UK, but I've heard the UK is actually surprisingly warm at the moment. So yes, before we dive into our wellness session, a little bit about Thrivers, because I can see some new people here. So on the Thrivers website, we have inspiring interviews. We interview successful women who share with us the challenges they face, the adversities they've had to overcome to succeed in their goals. It's really exciting. So if you need an injection of inspiration, head there. And then as you're experiencing now, we have our Thriver classes, which is where we partner with experts in wellness, wealth, and work, as you're seeing tonight, to empower us in all areas of our lives. So I just want to say a little shout out. Hi to our members. I can see you here. It's so great to have you on the live session. And if you're watching this in your own time, sit back, relax, and maybe join us for the live session next time, because the best thing about the lives is that you can actually ask the expert your questions. So talking of questions, we have this amazing platform called Zoom that not only lets us present with the amazing experts, and I'm laughing because a few people, our regulars, have been here. They're already saying hi. So yeah, so where are you calling from? So we have some people from Sydney, and we can see some people from the UK. That's awesome. Hi there. So yeah, we have the chat, which means that everyone in the group can see your questions. We're super. There's no judgment here. Your questions are just really important, so we want to make sure that you can get the most out of the session. And so great, I can see you definitely know how to use the chat. So we also have the Q&A, which means that just the experts and myself can see the session. I can see some more people turning up, so welcome to Thrivers. It's so great to have you here for the live session. And we were just saying, yeah, say hi and tell us where you're calling from. How was your day? Super personal and really friendly here. We just want to make sure that you get the most out of the session. So, right, Emily, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And hello, everyone. Thank you for having me with you tonight.
So, Emily, could you tell us a little bit about the work you do? So, I know you're a yoga instructor and you're also plant-based holistic wellness coach.
Yeah, that's a great ballpark there. So
yeah,
I am a hatha yoga teacher. So my classes are focused on really tuning into our bodies and moving, finding the internal motion of our breath, and then linking movement to breath. So it's more of a slow-paced meditative class. Not to say we don't get our heart rates up, because we do. And then also I'm a holistic wellness coach. So I'm trained in plant-based nutrition, which is a focus and a passion for me, and also through various techniques that align with yoga to help people come into a state of embodied wisdom, so that we can feel at home and at peace, so that we can move through the world with grace and ease.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I love these sessions. We always start Forever classes off with this wellness spot, which is like 15 minutes, and even just 10 minutes a day of focusing that time for yourself. Yeah. Is really important. Would you agree, Emily?
Exactly. Excuse me here. Of course, my notes decided to disappear as soon as we went live here.
Well, you can sort your notes out, and I'm just going to tell. So we're going to be doing a breathwork meditation for 10 minutes. And Emily, could you explain why this type of meditation is really powerful for when we're trying to make decisions, like financial ones as we are today?
Yeah, so it really comes back to the sense of being embodied. Yeah, so like most of the time we are bombarded with outside information, right? Different things, all this data comes into us through our senses, especially in the modern world. And a lot of it is cerebrally processed. And because most of us live such fast-paced lives, we don't really have the time to integrate the awareness of what's happening to us. So by calling attention to ourselves and what's happening in our body, we can find a place of internal centeredness.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of making decisions that are influenced by other people's values or other people's ideas of what we should or could do, we can find our own guidance, which really lives within, and we can find a way to process all of that information in a way that makes sense in the best way for us.
Yeah.
So
well, I love that.
There you go.
I've been on a bit of a meditation journey myself this year. I've just decided to do it every morning this year. And like you were saying, it does really help make it more clear on what is right for us instead of all these outside influences. So I can't wait for the session.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
Okay, brilliant.
So I invite everyone to find a comfortable, upright, seated position. I suggest if you're sitting in a chair to scoot yourself up to the front of the chair. And if you need to actually physically move around your seat, move the pudding bits out from under your sit bone so you can feel your seat making firm contact with the chair.
Okay, I'm just going to make sure to see. Brilliant.
Check that your shoulders are aligned over your hips. Your spine is in its natural curvature, rising straight out of your hips like a tree trunk. Roll your shoulders gently back and down. Place your hands on your knees, either palms down or palms up. Tuck your chin gently inward and downward, lengthening the back of your neck. And imagine a wall behind your head. And gently press the back of your head into the wall, just to give yourself a bit of strength through the neck, but no tension, no force here. You may choose at this point to close down your eyes and limit the information that you have coming in through your visual sense, or you may choose to just find a soft point of focus in the space in front of you. And bring your awareness into your body, beginning with your feet. Feel your feet firmly planted on the floor. Take a moment to kick off your shoes if you still have them on, if that's easy for you, so that you can feel the contact of the floor with your bare skin or through your socks. Draw your awareness fully into your left foot. Full awareness into your right foot. Any sensations occurring in your feet, and draw your awareness upward to your lower legs. Your left leg, the calf muscle, the shin, your right leg, front and back. Full awareness in your body. Draw your attention then to your knees and your upper legs. The backs of your legs making contact with your seat, the tops exposed. And then draw your attention further up your legs into your hips area and to the front of your body, your torso, chest, and abdomen. And then draw your awareness to the back of your body, noting any sensations that are occurring in the back of your body. Left shoulder, right shoulder, both shoulders together. Left arm, right arm, your neck, front of your neck, back of your neck, your head. Find stillness in your body and draw your attention now to your breathing without making any effort to control it. Simply become aware of the breath moving in and out. Breathing through your nose if it's clear, opening your mouth to breathe comfortably if it's not. Your breath is always available to you. Simply by tuning in, you may find yourself beginning to calm. Your mind is always going to be busy. Your mind, depending on your point of view, is either designed or has evolved to be an exquisite generator of thoughts as it processes all that information. When you call attention to your breathing, you can train your mind to focus and bring your awareness fully into your body. You can use words to draw your awareness to your breath, narrating as you inhale, I am breathing in. And as you exhale, I am breathing out. And as you pay attention to your breath, assign a count now to your breathing, counting at your pace, the length of your inhale, and the length of your exhale. As your mind gets used to this new task, you may find that it wanders. If that happens, gently redirect it back to the task at hand, observing and counting the length of the breath. As you become familiar with your natural breathing pattern, notice also the pauses, that moment when your lungs are full at the end of your inhale as it transitions to exhale, and that moment when your lungs are empty before the next inhale. Become aware of the natural movement of your diaphragm, that sheath of muscle that separates your abdominal cavity from your thoracic cavity where your lungs and heart live. Feel as you inhale the abdomen moving down, allowing the lungs to fill and the belly to bulge outward ever so gently. As you exhale, the diaphragm contracts gently back to its natural position, snugged in below and behind your sternum. Continue counting your breath, drawing your awareness to your inhales and exhales. And now, lengthen your exhale so that it is one count longer than your inhale. So if, for example, by your count you were breathing in at a pace of 4, lengthen your exhale now so that you're breathing out for a count of 5, whatever number it is that is your count for today. Continue being aware of the sensations of the movement of your diaphragm, letting your shoulders be soft. Not rushing or forcing your exhale to be longer to fit a certain count. Merely attempting to lengthen the exhale. And now, if you can, without gasping for your next in-breath, lengthen the count of your exhale so that it is 2 counts longer than your inhale. Being aware of the sensations as the breath moves into and out of your body, counting your rate of breath. And now, if your hands are palms down on your knees, gently turn them over so that the backs of your hands are resting on your knees, palms facing upward. Continue counting your breath. And imagine that your hands now are a beautiful 5-petaled flower, each of your fingers and your thumb one of the petals. As you inhale, direct your breath into the flower, letting it bloom and the fingers spread apart from each other, the palm growing broader. And as you exhale, draw your fingers slowly together so that at the end of your exhale, they're like a flower bud, ready for the next inhale, when the flower blooms again. Time the opening and closing of your flower so that the flower is fully open at that moment of pause and transition at the end of your inhale. The bud draws slowly back together as you exhale. The fingertips coming to meet the thumb at the end of the exhale. Some of you now may choose to bring this motion into your arms, continuing the opening and closing of the flower in time with your breath. As you inhale, lift your arms to shoulder height. And as you exhale, close the flower and draw the fingers and hands gently back down to your lap. Inhaling again, lifting and opening, and exhaling to lower. Continuing with your breath, your pace. Feeling the internal movement of your breath inside your body. And now marrying movement of your limbs in time with your breathing. All of these tools are available to you at any time. No special equipment. Nothing required other than intent, awareness, in a few moments. After your next exhale, taken in your time without rushing, relax your hands back down onto your knees, comfortably facing downward or upward. Release awareness of the movement of your diaphragm. Release awareness of your breath. Become aware of the room around you, the information available to you through your senses, your hearing, your skin gathering in temperature and movement of the air around you, your sense of smell, perhaps a taste in your mouth. And finally, externalize your awareness by opening your eyes and bringing them back up to the screen. And hopefully you feel centered and you've made contact with yourself and have some tools now to find your guidance at any place.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I feel very chilled now.
No vision. What I like about this method is this is available to anyone at any time. Very simple tools. No need for recording. No need for anyone else's guidance. These are tools that are available, and you can use any point of that. Those things that we did, counting the breath, feeling the diaphragm, or doing the linking of movement to breath at any point.
Yeah, I really like that because you have something to think about. Because, well, one of my struggles with meditation without guided is that all these thoughts are coming in and then I easily get distracted, then I'm impatient, then want to leave. So I hadn't done that one before. I'd be interested if anyone's got any questions, please let us know. And how did you find it? Just tell us how you're feeling now. Also, I love so when I met Emily before to talk about this, you told me about a really great breathing exercise, which I've actually been using, which is the numbers when you're counting down. Could you just share that one? So I think that's a really great one. I think did you say start from 27?
27.
Just a really easy.
Yeah, so I love that practice. It's just simply counting the breath. So finding your comfortable seat, becoming aware of the breath, taking a moment to kind of get there, right?
Yeah.
And then doing I am counting in, or I'm breathing in 27. I'm breathing out. 27. I'm breathing in. 26. I'm breathing out. 26. And, you know, you can illustrate it with your hands if you want to. I'm just trying to get all the way down to 0 continuously, and letting yourself, if you have time, start over back at 27 and get it down to 0, or just keeping with the practice. And you may find that your mind is a fantastic multitasker. So, yes. So as you've noticed that you're still making your shopping list or thinking about what's next, when by the time you're down to 23, noting that and coming back to just counting down. Yeah, that's a great tool as well.
Yeah, I love that. I've actually been using it in the night when I couldn't sleep.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And are you finding that it helps you?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Right. Yeah, just calming. Because sometimes you think there's nothing that can actually calm my brain right down, but if you just have to get into it, and it's amazing how it does slow it down.
Yep.
So yeah. So we had a few people feeling relaxed after a busy day with children.
Oh, great. All right, that's a win.
Lovely session. I loved counting down with your breath. Oh, it's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we're going to have to let Emily go.
Thank you
so
everyone
much for joining us. And
enjoy the rest of the session.
If you want to reach out to Emily, I'm going to be sharing her email and after the session and in the email that we follow up with. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the UK virtually. We're going to go and see Alice. So Alice, welcome to the Thrivers Workshop.
Thanks for having me.
So Alice, you're a financial advisor in the UK, and I just love what you're about because you're super approachable, and I've been following you on LinkedIn and everything, and I just love your approach, which is very different to a traditional style financial advisor. Could you tell us, before we go into that, can you tell us a bit more about the work you do?
Yeah, so I work with a variety of clients really starting from the beginning of their financial planning cycle. So, for example, I recently worked with a young girl who's a self-employed hairdresser. She was keen to start off saving for the future. So I work with people like that, right the way up to people who are at retirement, beyond retirement, looking to generate an income. So it's a whole variety of different people across the spectrum, and no one day is ever the same. There's always something different and exciting and challenging to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about how you broke out of this traditional approach and became this brilliant financial advisor that we can all relate to?
I'm not sure it was really a conscious decision. There's a lot more male financial advisors in the UK than there are female. I think there's about 13% are female compared to the rest being male, and also they are generally quite a bit older, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they are tending to probably fall out of their profession as they're retiring. So a lot of the time I'll go to seminars and events, and occasionally I'll be the only woman in the room. So I'll always be in the minority. It's the only time you don't really have to queue for the toilet as a lady when you go to events as a financial advisor. So I think in what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get my personality across, and actually, you know, finances shouldn't be boring. A lot of people think, oh, financial advisor, oh, that's really boring. Well, actually, no, it shouldn't be. I want to empower my clients to be excited about their money, to see it as a tool to actually achieving goals that we're going to talk about. And it should be really exciting. And I just wanted to get that across in what I'm doing, a bit of my personality, so people understand a bit more about me before they decide to work with me.
Yeah, brilliant. So, yes, today's topic, planning for financial success. I mean, it sounds really, really exciting. And like you said, it should be really exciting. And so I can't wait for us to all get stuck in, because I know when we went through the practice, I was actually quite surprised that there are all these, I'm a bit of a creative dreaming type person. And there are the practicalities that if you really want them to happen, you need to consider all these other things. So yeah, really glad we got to take us through it. So I'll hand over to you.
Okay, fabulous, thanks. I'm going to share my screen to begin with. So hopefully you can all see that.
Yeah, looks good.
So yes, planning for financial success. Sorry. So this is about a bespoke plan for your ideal life. So no one's plan is exactly the same as anyone else's. Everyone's is slightly or entirely different. Everyone will have slightly different goals. Most people do want to retire. A lot might want to keep working. But actually what that retirement looks like is going to be very different for one person than another, for example. And actually the road to getting to retirement is also going to look different. So we'll look through that. So what will we cover? I'll go a bit through the financial advice process and how I like to work with my clients. I'll also cover off that everyone has a bucket, and that should be quite interesting, but as I said, everyone's bucket is quite different. And it's also about starting with the end in mind. So we don't start, we don't just start and say, right, here's a pension, for example. It's about thinking about what you want to have at the end and then putting the plan in place around that. So that's setting your life goals. What are they? And then how can they be achieved? And then what next? So what next for you to then look at achieving those goals, hopefully. So financial planning process. So as you can see from this, it's always an ongoing process, or for me it is. So I start up at the top on the right with gathering client information. So this is the foundation to financial planning. It's very important to get everyone's, the client's information, so as much as possible. So my first meeting with clients is about gathering that information, getting to know them, getting to know what their situation is, what their beliefs are, and it's also a chance for them to get to know me as well, because as I said, it's about personality. So not everyone will want to work with me. So it's a chance for us to get to know each other. Within that, it's also about establishing goals and objectives. So what do they want to achieve? It's quite difficult working with people who don't really know what their goals and objectives are. So it's probably one of the most important things that we look at is, what are your goals and objectives? Where do you want to get to? At what age and how much money do you need to do that? And then I'd go away and using all the information I've gathered, analyse their financial situation, and come up with a plan, and then would look to implement that plan. And once that plan's implemented, it isn't a case of off you go into the sunset, happy retirement. It's ongoing monitoring, reviewing the financial plan, because there's going to be tweaks, there's going to be things that change in people's circumstances, there's going to be things that change in legislation, regulation, all kinds of things that are going to impact that plan. So you need to monitor it and review it. So it's a fluid, living thing, really. So as part of that, everyone has a bucket, and here's a bucket, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and hopefully you'll be able to see me. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So I've got behind me a flip chart. I'm going to do some drawing. I'm not the most artistic person. So here is a bucket, and everyone's got one of these. And within this, you will have what we call realisable assets. So you might have some cash, so cash at the bank, or building societies or in other places. You might have some investments. So that could be, in the UK we have things called ISAs and other kinds of investments, but they're things that you can readily access. And then also savings and so on. So it's things you can get your hands on now. So if you needed to dip into that money, you could. Going into your bucket, you could have a salary. You could have dividends. So if you're a business owner, you might be taking dividends out of your business. Can you see this okay?
Yeah, yeah. The writing's a little bit small, but
I'll try and make it bigger. You might have other benefits or tax credits or rental income. So all of this will be going into your bucket. So that's what's going in now. In the future, one of your plans might be that you actually downsize your house. So you get some equity out of the house, and then that could go into your bucket. You might also have a pot of money, so a pension. In the UK, we get 25% of our pension tax-free currently. So that could go into the bucket, and also the pension could be used to go into the bucket as an income in the future. You might also have a business. It's probably not a factory, but that's my representation of a business. So that could also be sold and go into the bucket in the future. And then also you might have inheritance, state pension, or an employer pension. And they will all go into the bucket. So actually you think, oh lovely, I've got a lovely bucket and it is filling up. So here's your water level and it's going, it's rising. But no, you don't, you've got, unfortunately, taps or holes in your bucket. So here's a tap. And this is for your current income. So you'll have income, this will be current income coming in, but you've got a tap with what you need to take out coming out, and this will be your expenditure, so probably mortgage, childcare, food, holidays, so on and so forth. You've then got, in the future, you'll have another tap here, which will be for early retirement. So maybe that's got some bigger blobs of water, it might have smaller blobs of water. But that's what you want to do in early retirement. So what income do you need in retirement? It's unlikely you'll still have your mortgage, so it might be smaller, but you might want to go on more holidays, and so on. So we always look at what your income will be like there. And then also throughout your life, you might have other payments, which are big blobs of water. And these are one-off payments. So these might be like a round the world trip, or paying for a child's wedding, or something along those lines. So big one-off expenditure. And then later in life, you have another tap, which is later retirement. And that might have small blobs of water when you're younger and less active. So what I do with clients is I look at their buckets, look what's in their bucket and what might be going into the bucket in the future, and also look at the taps that they're going to have on at different stages throughout their lives, then make sure that their buckets don't run out, but to make sure they don't overflow and they pay too much tax. So on that note, I'll share my screen again. With my clients, we always, just trying to move on to the next screen. Oh, we always start with the end in mind. So the most important thing in that bucket is the taps, or more specifically, the blobs of water that come out. So what do those taps look like for my clients? What is the current expenditure? What is their future expenditure? And what are the one-offs that they want to pay for? And actually, starting with the end in mind is all about setting your life goals and objectives. So where do you want to be? So we start at the end. So what do you want to achieve? What are your life goals and objectives? What do they look like? When do you want to do them? So for some people I see, they might say they want to retire, and for some people they want to retire at 50, for some they want to retire at 75. So it looks very different. So it's always about, what does the end result look like? If you had a blank piece of paper and it was X amount of years from now, what would you want your life to look like? So if everyone's got a piece of paper, I'd like them to draw this. So on their vertical axis, we have got priority.
Maybe Alice, sorry to interrupt. Could we just if everyone can just get their paper, because I'm not sure, I think if, in case anyone hasn't got it, because I think this is pretty important, and it's a really great exercise. So yeah, please go and grab a piece of paper and pen to write down. And also, if at any point you have any questions for Alice, just put them in the chat, and then when we've got time at the end, or during it, we'll try and get them answered. And also, maybe we'd like to hear what your goals are. Are there anything that Alice is saying has come up? I know I definitely haven't ever planned my goals from thinking of me in very old age and what I would have liked to have achieved. I'm more thinking, I know for me, I haven't bought a house yet, so that's on one of my things, which I'm probably hoping to add in this quadrant. So yeah, how's everyone feeling? Has everyone got a pen and paper? Okay, I think we're set to go. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. On that note, Julia, it's quite interesting because I was at a seminar the other day, and actually, apparently, only 8% of people have planned their life goals, and a lot of people do plan a lot of short term, so they've planned in the next 5 years or the next 10 years, but most people haven't planned beyond that, and it's quite an important exercise because it does kind of dictate what you do now. So if you've got a goal, it's much easier to achieve it if you actually start planning for it and as early as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you've all got your pieces of paper, we need to split it into 4 sections. So up on the vertical axis, we've got priority, and then you'll see down at the on the horizontal axis, we've got time. And also on the side, we've got at the bottom want to and have to, and then the time frame we've got now and in the future. I'll just give you a bit of a moment to draw that out.
Yeah, it's interesting how little people do it. It actually makes me feel better that so many little people have actually planned this, so we can all.
Yeah.
And it can take time, can't it? I mean, I know we're doing this exercise now, but things might come to mind after this.
Exactly, and it will change as well. Things will happen. There's always something that will come along and change your plans, move your focus. And actually, that's why it's a really important to keep this under review, because when things do change, it's important that you shift your financial plans to take account for that. Mm-hmm. Because planning for a longer term objective is going to be very different to planning for something that's more in the short term.
Yeah.
And this is something when people come to see me, when they don't know about their goals, it's really good to sit down and do this with them and have a discussion with them about it. And quite often as well, people have different goals from their partner. So you might have one thing in mind that you want to do, but your partner might have an entirely different thing in mind. So it's quite interesting to do this as well with your other half, to see what they feel about the goals for the future as well, because it's quite important to have a joined up plan.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy to, if you're getting a salary, if you haven't got a specific goal, you end up just spending it all. So yeah, brilliant stuff.
So hopefully everyone's got that down on their paper. So don't be overwhelmed by the next slide. So what I've done here is just given some examples of goals. And what I'd like you to do is have a look through these, and where there's something that's relevant to you, a goal that you'd like to achieve, put it onto that piece of paper. So for example, you want to go on the round the world trip. So that would probably be a want to, and in the future. Something, for example, protect against loss of income or assets due to illness or injury. That might be something you have to do now because it's really important that you protect your family should anything happen to you. Some of these won't be relevant. So for example, buy a yacht. That would be quite a nice dream, but might not be very relevant to most of us. So if there's things that aren't relevant, discount that. If there are things that are, put them in the square on your piece of paper where it's most relevant, where it fits. I'll give you a few minutes to do that.
What happens to people when they say, I want to start a business? Then all this goes a bit AWOL for a few years.
Yeah, it does, and yeah, it does, and it's just, I think you just have to see it as a bit of a break. And actually, a lot of planning for the future, you also have to live for today. So actually, it'd be really nice to be able to put away loads of money for retirement, but actually, if that's going to hinder your life today, then obviously it's not a wise thing to do. So it is about getting a balance between what's affordable and achievable in your life now to achieve your future life. And so what I'd say is with starting a business, starting a business is a really big investment, but actually it's something that should probably pay off in the longer term. And then when you can afford to, you can then put lump sums aside to be able to achieve these goals. So it is getting that balance right. So you've probably got something similar in Australia. There's something called critical illness cover we have in England, which covers you if you're diagnosed with a serious illness such as cancer, stroke, heart attack. And it's a type of insurance, and the cost for it is quite expensive. But the reason it's quite expensive is because it's sadly quite likely that you're going to get critical illness. So it'd be really nice to have hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of cover, but actually being realistic, it's about looking at what's affordable. So in the whole of the plan, in what I gather information from people, it's about their income expenditure now. So looking at what they can afford to save towards these goals. It's about balancing the bucket out, really.
Yeah.
If there's things that aren't on this list, obviously then just add them on to your chart, and you should start getting a good picture of what your goals are and where they sit, and what needs addressing more immediately than other things.
Yeah, I don't know how people feel, but there are lots on here like that I have never considered, like writing my will. What age would you say that people should write their will?
I think with writing your will, it is probably as soon as possible, and also within that is powers of attorney. So when you're young, you probably don't think about it, but if you're married, then you might want to consider it. So what would you want to happen? If you've got children from a previous relationship and you're with a new partner, I'd say that is especially important. So for me, it's something I always ask my clients, have you written your will? And if they haven't, I will recommend that they do, because it is quite important for them to get into place. Also with powers of attorney, if something happens, if you have an accident and lose capacity, then a power of attorney will enable people who you want to act on your behalf, rather than it having to be looked after by an attorney who doesn't know you in the slightest. So having a will, I would say, I wrote mine when I got married, but especially if you've got children.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's given everyone enough time to get their goals down. Oh, and I did actually do it like this so you could see the board as well. So I've just done an example of what someone's board might look like. It might look a lot busier than this. So I have got on there, write my will, and I put it as a priority, have to now. So this is just as an example. Protect my family's financial needs should I die or get critical illness. So I'm talking about that as well. So two quite important things I put in have to now, and these might not be on yours because it might not be relevant. You might not have a family or dependents. Establish emergency fund. So it's quite important to have a little pot of money there should anything happen, like the boiler breaks. Fund children's university, that might be something you want to do in the future, or stop working, retire, but this was just examples, so I can refer back to this. So then we've got our board, we know it looks like this, so then we want to get some meat on the bone. So it's all very well having a few bits written on a piece of paper, but it's then getting more focused, more targeted. So at what age do you want to do it? So for the now, it's probably more immediate, so now is now. But in the future, at what age do you want to fund your children's university? Now that will be dictated by how old your children are. So it's quite easy to say, oh, my child is 10 now, they're going to be going at 18, so that's in 8 years' time. For other things like retirement, that might be a bit more tricky. So it might be, oh, well, some people might say, well, my parents didn't died quite young, so I want to retire early because I want to make the most of my retirement. Or some people might love their jobs and think, actually, I don't want to retire till later in life. So if against each of those goals, you can either do it now or come back and have a look at it, is at what age or in how many years do you want to achieve that goal? And then the next thing is to think about, is that goal a one-off payment? So the big blocks from the tap, is it something you need to fund annually? Is it going to be ad hoc? And then you need to think about if it is annually or if it is ad hoc, for how long are you going to need to make that payment, or how many times? So for example, funding a child to go to university, that might be for 3 years. So that might be 3 years that you need an annual income for. Ad hoc might be buying the yacht or going on the round the world trip. Annually, that will be, well, that would be the university. So there's, if you think about for each of those goals, how long you need that money for, and also how much you think you might need to set aside for it. So how much do you think you need to put the children through university? How much do you think you need to retire? How much do you think you need to write a will? And so on and so forth. So it actually forms a much more detailed picture of what those goals look like. And then I think it's important to also think about, why is that objective actually important to you? So why is it actually on the board? And why do you need to do it within those timescales? And why do you need that amount of money? I think it's just important to have a think about that, and have a discussion, if you do have your partner, as around why you feel that's important within your plan. So once you've got your goals and they're all on your piece of paper, you need to then put a plan in place around your goals. So it's probably it's different goals are going to have different plans. So it's probably looking at a little plan for each of your goals, and then going back to then what's going into your bucket to how you can achieve those goals. So what do you need to do? What do you need to do now to achieve that goal in the future? So more immediately, if it's writing a will now, then you'll know that maybe you'll need £200, for example, to do that in the UK. So you can say, right, I need to budget £200 to do that. In the future is looking about what you've got now that can help achieve that goal. So for example, you've got the income that's going into the bucket, you've got savings and investments that are already in the bucket, pensions that might be going in there in the future, and also potential investment returns. So one of the things that I didn't talk about when we were looking at the bucket was actually anything that you've got invested is going to then potentially have returns that will then boost your bucket. So it's looking at what's going into that pot that could then potentially fund them in the future. And one of the important things to do as well is to look at investing and aligning that to your goals. So as I said, there's potential investment returns that you can have from, for example, investing into stocks and shares. But actually you need to think about how much risk you want to take with that investment, but also look at how long you're investing for. So an emergency fund is just that, it's an emergency fund. So if you need to dip into it, you want it to be readily available. So for an emergency fund, it probably might be short-term short-term pot of money. Therefore, it isn't probably going to be an investment. It's more likely to be a savings pot, so cash that's readily available. So if there is an emergency, you can easily dip into it. And if there's been a stock market fall, you're not going to be worried that you're going to have lost money on it. Whereas in retirement, if you're planning for retirement and it's a long way in the future, you might be willing to take a bit more risk with that investment. So invest into stocks and shares because you can ride the ups and downs of the stock market. If you saved into cash for retirement and it was longer than probably 5 or 10 years in the future, if you were in cash, inflation would erode the buying power of your money. So, for example, when I was growing up in the UK, a packet of Polos was 10p. I think they're more like 75p now. So actually, you can't buy as much with your money. So it's all about looking at, right, what are the goals? What is the time frame I'm looking at for those goals? Where should I look to be putting that money for that goal so that it's going to have the appropriate level of risk to achieve that goal? So it can get quite complicated, and there's varying different places you can invest for those degrees of risk. So I guess the thing is, what will you do next? And so if anyone wants to answer that question via comments, or if anyone's got any questions, what I would say is, don't be scared of talking to a financial advisor if it's just to have a conversation. And what I would say is, before you make any big financial decisions, especially if it's one that you can't undo, have a word with a financial advisor because they might be able to put a different slant on it. It's just a bit of a summary of what I've covered off, and hopefully you'll be able to take away those goals and have a look at them. And at least I think you've started thinking about them. You've got the start of a plan in place. It's just a question of then putting in the actions that you're going to do to achieve those goals. And definitely having those goals is the best starting point to be in. Start the journey of your financial planning. So if there are any questions at all, or any comments, that'd be great.
So we'll have a look. Yeah, please give us your questions. What do you do if you don't know how much something will cost in the future?
So what I would say is looking at now is always a good thing to start, a good place to start. So for example, I get quite a lot of people coming in and saying they don't know what their everyday expenditure is going to be in retirement. So if you take if you do a bit of budgeting now, so I've got a spreadsheet that I could send over that has headings on it. So it'll have food, drink, insurance, electricity, gas, mortgage, and so on, and breaks down all the expenditure that you're spending now. So you can put in the amounts you're spending either monthly or annually into that, and then you can look at it and think, right, well, in the future, I'm no longer going to be paying my mortgage. I'm no longer going to be paying into a pension. I'm no longer going to be paying X, Y, Z. And then you can extrapolate that out into what your future income might look like, taking off, adding in maybe more for holidays. And then that can give you a future income. So it's, in that sense, it's a good idea to start with now. For other one-offs, if you look at how much it might cost now and then just take that forward to the future, maybe taking into account inflation, which is about 2.5% in the UK at the moment, then that would be a good place to start as well.
Okay, brilliant. Someone's been very honest. It's really great, but I'm lost at where to start. Where would you suggest starting if you've never budgeted or ever considered this? As you said, so many little people do have set goals this far in advance. Yeah, where is a good starting place?
I think I always say, what does your retirement look like? So just imagine what you want your future to look like, and then start there. And it is easier to start at the end. And with the whole budgeting thing, it is a good idea, if you can, to just get in touch with someone who can help, because actually talking to someone, even if it's not something that you take forward, as I said, I would always be happy to have a conversation. I prefer to have a conversation with someone and for it not to go anywhere than for someone not to have a conversation. So I'd say see if there's someone who can help as well with your specific situation, because everyone's situation is slightly different.
Yeah, because I know you said initial consultations are usually free, aren't they, Alice? So if it's with you in the UK, or we've got our Australian financial advisors, they could reach out to just to get an initial idea.
Yeah, and if someone can't help, I'd expect them to be able to say at that meeting that they can't help in that situation. Excuse me, sometimes I have people come to me and I can't help with a certain situation, but I will often have people who I can refer them to who will be able to help.
Mm-hmm. So if anyone's coming with that has, like, for instance, starting with debt, so you might feel like you're starting minus, would you say it's still important to look at the end result of where you ideally want to be and still work your way out?
Yeah, I think with debt, it's a good idea before you start planning for the future to try and clear that as much as possible. Some debt is slightly different. So at the moment, it might be slightly different with mortgages, but actually I do get people who come to see me, they want to start planning for their retirement, but if they've got some debt, they're probably paying more interest on that debt that they're going to be accumulating in the time that they'll be paying into their pension, for example. So it is a good idea to see if you can look at how to address that debt, and there are specialist coaches who can help with that. So I know a couple of people here in the UK who can help look at ways of paying off that debt and looking at mindset as to how people get into that debt. So yeah, there are people there who can help with those kinds of situations before you then start planning for the future.
Okay, thank you, Alice, for answering that. So we've got another question. What percentage of salary should you save if you want to have the current lifestyle when you retire?
So there isn't a set amount of percentage of salary that you should save. There used to be people who used to say you should be saving half of your age percentage. So if you were 30, you should be saving 15% of your salary. But because everyone's goals look different, so everyone will look different. Mine will look different to yours. There's no set kind of formula. There are some tools online that you can have a look at that will suggest how much you should be saving for retirement. So if you just went on Google or another search engine and put in retirement income, they can usually allow you to put in what you've already got in a pension and then suggest how much you should be saving to achieve the lifestyle that you want.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Alice. Another question. On the chart, is the now area things that you currently spend money on, or just something you'll spend money on very soon?
It's something that you want to spend money on. So if you've already got in place, let's say you've already got in place your critical illness cover, that's already set up. So it's not something you probably need to be, it's not a goal that you want to achieve. So it's something that you knew that you want to do. So something, or something new that you want to pay for that you haven't already got in place.
Okay, cool. Someone said, I've got a help to buy ISA. Am I right thinking that I can use another savings account while still paying into the ISA?
Yeah, you can. The help to buy ISA is less of, has a lower contribution threshold than the full ISA. So I believe you can. I'd have to double check that, but yeah, I believe so.
Okay, does that help you? Yeah, keep bringing your questions. These are really, really excellent. Do you want to unshare your screen, Alice? Or is there
Yes, sorry, you can't see me, can you?
See your beautiful face. Brilliant. Yeah, just while more people's questions are coming through, when you were saying about really getting clear about what you want, I know we were talking about it last week, and we wrote a blog about sometimes you can think, oh, I want all these things, but getting really clear on what's really important to you. Like we were saying, even if you had a yacht, it's really good to know like what kind of like who's with you. Do you see your family regularly? Your friends part of that? I mean, how much of those things are actually material? Because I think once you get really clear on what's important, you actually realize that there are a lot of things to be happy into your later years as well. It might mean that you don't actually need as much as you thought, and that it's so much more achievable, and our goals are a lot closer than we realize.
Yeah, and a lot of the time it is, you know, I'll see people who will say, actually I want to spend more time with my grandchildren. So it's how much do you need to then generate from investment pensions to be able to do that, to replace the lost income from earnings, because you want to spend more time looking after the grandchildren and helping out the children.
Yeah, what are you saying about when you work with people who are, is it close to retire or retired, that they see more clearly what is important than youngsters that are still, I don't know, striving? It's just interesting to see their mindset.
Yeah, they do. And my clients who are at retirement they don't want masses of income. They just want to be able to have a nice lifestyle, not really go on massive trips, go on a couple of holidays, spend more time with family, spend more time with each other, spend more time with the grandchildren. So yeah, it is a bit of a mind shift. Rather than wanting things, they do want to spend more time with the people that they love.
Yeah, it's really interesting that it boils down to time in the end. Time with people who are really important to you, which I think is really lovely as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question. Someone said you need to plan for your funeral as well. Was that in the list?
I don't know, but the average cost of a funeral in the UK is about, I think, £6,000. So actually, it is potentially something that you might want to do if there's not enough readily available assets. You can get funeral plans, and funeral plans are like life cover, so they will pay out a lump sum amount. They tend to be quite reasonably priced, but also within that you can actually put in a plan of your funeral, so you can actually say what you want to happen at the funeral. So yeah, it is good because it does take away the stress for the family if there's not sufficient assets there to potentially pay for the funeral, because the cost of them is rising. It's a bit like weddings, people add on an extra amount. I was just looking about the ISA. I've just looked online, and if you have a Help to Buy ISA, this just says that the total amount saved must not exceed the annual subscription for ISAs if you have multiple ISAs. So that's the £20,000 in the UK. Just to answer the previous question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, I love that someone just thought about the very, very end of their life. It just made me laugh. That's awesome.
Well, all I talk about is two things that people don't like talking about: death and money. I talk about every day.
I noticed. Someone said, do you think if you have some spare cash to save, is it best to put it in normal savings account if you're going to use it in the next few years?
Yeah, I'd say looking at it, say if you think you're going to access something within the next 5 years, it's probably not a good idea, generally speaking, to invest it into something that's high risk like stocks and shares, because if the markets go down and you need to access the money, it's when you get the money out that you've actually realised the loss. So in the UK, we're having turbulence in the market. 2018 was a bit of a rubbish year for investment returns generally. So if you needed to access your money at the end of 2018, it's likely that you would have lost money if you'd invested it, say, 3 years previously. So yeah, leave it in cash, generally speaking, without knowing the specifics.
So do you, someone's asked how many of your clients are percentage women to men?
It's quite interesting because I do have quite a mixture. So I have couples, I have some women who are on their own, and also have some men who are on their own. So it is probably about a 50-50 split, to be honest. I would say that actually some of the men, they might be at a vulnerable time in their lives. So for example, one of my clients came to me when he was getting divorced. So I don't know if he would have felt more comfortable speaking to a woman, but it is about a 50-50 split. I think it's all about personality, to be honest. So who I tend to get on with well.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading a question. And what do you think about taking money out of a fund and putting it on gold and doing it yourself?
So there's a slide I could show you. So, and it depends what fund you're invested in. But if you're going into a specific, what we call asset, then you're taking on more risk potentially. Let me just try and find this, and hopefully I'll be able to show you it on my screen. So what this just shows is, bear with me, my iPad's taking quite a while, is this. So hopefully you'll be able to get an idea of the different, so just so you can see that. So those different coloured blobs in this table represent a different asset class. So for example, commodities, which would be gold. So if you look at, say, this brownie coloured one, you'll see that it's the top performing this year, then it's here, then it's at here, but then it's at the bottom. So if you, what this is trying to show is that if you invest in a specific asset such as gold, you're potentially taking on more risk and will have more volatility. Over the longer term, you might have a better return, but there's nothing to say that. With having a diversified portfolio that invests across different areas, you tend to fall in the middle of that chart rather than either at the top or at the bottom. So it's a bit of a smoother ride. But obviously it's down to personal preference and how much risk that person wants to take with their investment.
What would you recommend if someone's new to the stock market and they heard lots about it, but you know it can be very overwhelming when you're first getting into it? What would be the types of investments on the shares market would you recommend?
So for me, it's about having a balanced portfolio that's aligned to your risk profile. And as I said, you'll have probably different risk profiles for different goals. So something that's in the future, a long way in the future, so retirement, you might be able to afford to take more risk, to have more in shares rather than cash. In the short term, it's about having more cash. And there's things between cash and shares that will have different levels of risk. So for example, commercial property, you've got something called fixed interest, which is governments and companies' ways of borrowing money. So having a portfolio that invests across those with different percentages based on risk profiles, having that diversified approach can boost returns but also limit the downsides. So it's looking at how much risk you want to take, and look, I don't know, you might be able to access them online, looking at a risk profile questionnaire. So establishing, am I low risk, am I high risk?
And if you were nervous about it and wanted to see a financial advisor about it, and then maybe you're worrying that if you get tied into financial advisor, you'll have to keep spending lots of money. Is it the kind of thing that you could sort out in a session, or would it need a couple of sessions, or?
So it depends really. It usually requires a couple of sessions, and at the first session, a financial advisor should always go through what the charges are. to what the charges are from that point forward, and be able to give that to you in monetary terms. So some situations it might be able to do a one-off. Some financial planning can be paid for by the product itself, so a fee can be taken from a pension, for example, which is one option. Other things like protection, they will pay commission, so it's out of the charges within the plan. So it does vary, but I don't think that as a first off you should be put off by the cost. Most financial advisors will have a back end charge, so it's probably important to find out if you do cancel or leave, for example, if they're going to charge you an exit penalty. So yeah, at that first meeting that's usually free or complimentary, it's to get an idea of what the charges are, when it starts charging, and what the implications are.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for being clear on that. Yeah, thank you for all your brilliant questions. We've probably got time for a couple more. We're coming, or just one more. Okay. In the UK, in recent years, income from a rental property rather than selling the property seems to have been beneficial for a lot of people I know. Do you think for long-term savings that is a good idea, or would selling property and saving the cash be better?
So property used to be really compelling really to invest into, but there's been quite a few changes recently with the tax on property in the UK. So there's been additional stamp duty when you buy property. There's also a reduced tax, offsetting of tax against the interest on a mortgage, for example, if you've got a mortgage. The thing about property as well is if you sell it, you get capital gains tax, and although you'll get the rental income, if you wanted to realise a bit of capital, you could, for example, sell off the garage. So it's kind of, the property, it can potentially get a good rental yield, but it might not be as tax efficient as other ways of investing. As to whether it's better to sell or hold a property, I'm sorry to be vague, but it would really depend on the situation. So if you're a higher rate taxpayer and you're paying tax on the income, that might not work out to provide that much of a return. There's also the hassle factor. But then if you sell the property, you need to take into account the potential tax that you'll pay on that. So it is a bit of a balance and a personal situation approach.
Oh, thank you for answering that. I think it's really interesting because it's the same as Australia here. Property isn't as seen as the kind of the gold mine that it was a few years ago. So, and then that's pushing more people to look at stocks and shares, which I think is really brilliant that women are now really looking at this as a serious option, because traditionally it's always seems that the men are involved in the stock market, but actually it's a really exciting place for women to get involved. So I'm really glad people are actually questioning, should we just go for the traditional buying a house, or should we empower ourselves if it means seeing a financial advisor for a couple of sessions to get those locked in and get the expertise advice. I think that's brilliant, because a lot of us are moving around the world as well, so maybe buying a property isn't always the solution.
Yeah, I have written a blog actually on property versus investment, so that's on my website, so you might want to have a look at that as well, so you can have a look at the pros and cons of each approach.
Yeah, someone's asked, where are you based, Alice?
I'm based in Wiltshire, so I'm just north of Swindon, just across the border from Gloucestershire and Oxfordshire, so just right at the top of Wiltshire. But I do have clients all over the place really, so if you want to just get in touch and we can have a chat.
You do Skype sessions or Zoom sessions with?
Yes, so we can do that. I do like to meet my clients, so the initial meeting we could do over Zoom or over Skype. I do like to see people as well when I'm chatting to them in the initial meetings. It's a lot easier than talking over the phone where you can't see people. And then I do like to have a meeting face to face as well.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, so Alice, you said that if people want to see you for that initial consultation, that they can reach out to you.
Yes. I've got various ways that you can contact me. There's my website, which is Alice Douglas with two S's, .co.uk. So there's a contact me panel on there. There's also, you can get in touch with me on my mobile, which is 07525 177 046. I'm also on LinkedIn, so if you just search for Alice Douglas with two S's on Douglas, you should be able to find me on there. I'm on Twitter as well, IFA_Alice. I'm all over the place.
And Alice has got on her website, she's got a page devoted to her dog, which is awesome.
I have, she's very cute.
Awesome. Yeah, so please reach out to Alice. And yeah, thank you so much for today's session. That was really, really brilliant. I've definitely, again, I need to sort out my goals list and add some more practicalities in there.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me. It's been so much fun, and I really do hope you found it useful. And if anyone does have any questions, just get in touch. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I'm so proud of everyone who's joined us today, because finance, it can be a dry topic, but as Alice said, it's up to your mindset and we can make it really exciting. It's so empowering to get in control of our finances. And as women, really, really important to be financially empowered. And it's never too late to start actioning on those goals and really look at where you spending your hard-earned cash. You know, make sure it's going towards those important big goals that you have, so you can really lead the life that you want. Okay, we've had a couple of people say thank you very much, Alice, really useful information. Someone else said thank you, that really helped me, so that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you.
And also because it's very early there in the UK, so I'm really grateful to have you on board. I know we've got a few UK people in our Thrivers tribe, so it was really great to partner with a UK financial advisor. So thank you, Alice.
Oh, it's okay. Welcome. It's been brilliant, and have a good evening or good day, everyone.
I just before we wrap up, I just wanted to let everyone know in March, Thrivers have their confidence month. That's what we're focusing on. So we've partnered with some really brilliant experts. One is called She Thrives, and they are all about helping actually specifically women going back into the workforce, but they're talking generally about confidence and giving us skills and techniques to help build that, because it's so important in all of our walks in life. So that's going to be really great, and that's March the 13th. And then we've got a really unique workshop at the end of March, which is with an amazing woman from Dress to Success. She is going to be helping us understand our current wardrobe and how we can maximize it and feel really great without spending a huge amount. She's a really great fashion guru. I think she's a stylist for Veronica Main, a real character, really entertaining. She's actually going to go through my wardrobe, which is really scary, and help us all understand what are the key items that we can have to spruce up an outfit and feel really confident. So really two great workshops, and really hope we can see you all there for those ones too. Okay, well, thanks again, and thanks to Emily. I know she's watching back home for that amazing wellness part. But yeah, have a great day from Australia, and if you're in the UK, and good night if you're in Australia. We really hope that helped you, and keep striving for your goals. So thank you, Alice.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.